What's going on? What's going on, team? Welcome back to another weekly stock talk. Welcome back to another week. Hope everybody had a great last week. A lot of the names since the last stock talk that we talked about did very, very well last week. So I'm excited to get into the opportunities for this week. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the S&P 500. We'll talk about the NASDAQ, and then we'll jump into the opportunities that we see for this week as well. We had some from last week that gained 10%, 12%, 8%, and so on. So my name's Xander with Fates of Trading Academy. If you guys are new here, make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed. We do this every single week. So make sure that you guys are tuned in. That way you're the first to know about what we are expecting to see in the next week to come. So first things first, let's jump into the S&P 500. What we're seeing here, once again, still following the trend that we've been seeing, even with the pullback that we saw happen last week, we still are in the same trend. And that actually created what we see to be a double bottom. So we'll see if this breaks out. We did break this neckline right here. So we'll see if this breaks up to the upside beyond that, right? So as of right now, we are a little bit higher than those previous consolidation points that we saw for about it was about a day, but it was about 2 nights in one day. But that is where we were consolidating, and we ended up breaking above that today. So we saw a nice push to the upside on Monday, which was kind of a dictating day to see, what is going to happen next, right? So Friday, we had a great day. Thursday, we had a great day. And then Monday, we opened up with a nice strong push to the upside. So from what I'm seeing, we're seeing a double bottom. So a very high chance that we're going to see a nice push to the upside. It really depends on, what's going on in the country, what's going on in the world. So we'll see what happens as far as, what happens with the general market. But as of right now, from a technical standpoint, we're looking pretty good. We are a tad bit overbought here on the MACD or on the RSI. My bad. We are a little bit overbought. However, with the setup that we're seeing, we might see a bit of a correction and then another strong push to the upside. So very possible that we might see another pullback just because we are approaching overbought territories. But you kind of want to you want to balance everything out, and you want to weigh everything and see what is going to really happen, right? Once you weigh the options and weigh the factors that are in play, this double bottom and the fact that we're maintaining this trend, and we have been getting quite a bit of positive catalysts, it could very much correct. However, I wouldn't expect it to correct too much, in my opinion. But definitely can expect a pullback, at least back down to the support line. If we do pull back, if we do see tomorrow with another push, we might just become a little bit more overbought. And at that point, that's when I'd start getting a little bit more worried about it. But as of right now, I'm really waiting to see what happens on Tuesday, because we had a great Monday. I feel like the market has that bullish sentiment behind it. And we have been seeing for the last couple of days, including Thursday and Friday from last week, we have been seeing a lot of bullish push to the upside. So that's pretty much what's happening with S&P 500. Not really concerned yet. That correction, if anything, was a benefit to us. The next one we're going to look at is going to be /NQ. 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 So /NQ, very similar setup. This is going to be focusing more so on the tech sector. And obviously we have quite a bit of tech stocks that we're going to be talking about today, and we talked about last week. And that's why they did very, very well, because very similar setup. We had this double bottom that we saw in the S&P 500. We saw the same thing happen in the NASDAQ. And we are now approaching this SMA line. So that is a little bit more worrisome, in my opinion, when you're approaching this SMA line, because that could be a strong rejection for us. So we'll see. We did end up breaking 2 higher highs. So that's looking good. Like I said, Tuesday is really what's going to show us what's going to happen. Or we're going to keep pushing up to the upside and retest that all-time high that we saw over here at 14,064, or are we going to get rejected by this SMA line and possibly correct down to this support line, if not lower. So we are a little overbought. I do want to, put that out there. Make sure that you're considering the fact that both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are overbought, right? Not significantly overbought. We're only at 68. So we're not super overbought, but we are approaching those overbought territories. So this is going to be the time to be more cautious. Last week when we were down here, we weren't as overbought. We were more so on the oversold side than the overbought side, overbought side. So now we're starting to approach that overbought side. So now it's going to be a little bit, be a little bit more cautious this upcoming week with what you're trading than you were last week. And that's pretty much what we're basing it on, right? We have started seeing a slight change of color in the MACD as well. So like I said, Tuesday is really what's going to tell us which way the market's going to be going. Are we going to continue to push to the upside, or are we going to push down to the downside, maybe have a little bit of a correction, and then possibly bounce at this support. So I do want to put that out there. And when we're going to be talking about these stocks, make sure to consider the fact that, what we just talked about, right? Be ready in both instances. If we push up to the upside, be ready for that. If we're going to be pulling back, know which opportunities you want to jump into, because these opportunities are already great opportunities. But if they pull back, the market pulls back, these opportunities are going to become even better, right? So the first one we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Twitter. This one has been a huge, massive winner for us. Last week, it's pushed up a very significant amount since last we talked about it. And then now we're seeing the similar situation. We're still seeing a very great setup. So big picture, we're looking for a price target of 81. Obviously, that was all-time high, so we're not expecting it to go that high that fast. But we did see that nice pullback because of earnings and the market selling off. So now we're starting to see a recovery. We're making higher highs. We're pushing up. We broke through that support or that resistance level that we had right up here. We ended up breaking through that today. And we're having a fairly decent amount of bullish volume coming in. The volume is up since it was the last 2 weeks. On Friday wasn't that much, and Thursday also, and then Monday we saw a huge push in volume, and most of it was bullish. So that's looking good. The next thing I want to say is we are fairly overbought. We're about at 71 here on Twitter. So if we're taking into account what we talked about as far as the NASDAQ goes and the S&P 500, the pullback that we might see might correlate fairly well with Twitter pulling back to at least this support down here, right? If not, possibly this support, but I wouldn't say it's going to pull back down here because we had a strong pullback with earnings and with the market selling off, and we only came down to about 49. So we're at 57 right now. We've rode this since last week. We talked about it last week's Stock Talk, and we ended up riding it from basically, it was about 40, I think we were at 49.50 is when we talked about jumping into this, and we ended up riding it all the way up to 57. So we're waiting to see what happens on Tuesday. If we see the slightest amount of weakness in the market, probably a better idea to cover the position and see if you can get a better deal. However, we'll see what happens. If we keep getting that bullish push, it's not going to be surprising if this thing at least reaches the SMA line, if not where it was prior to earnings and the market selling off. So that's about, 67, and the SMA line is going to be about 60. So that's kind of the situation here with Twitter. The next one we're going to be taking a look at is going to be T, and that is AT&T. So AT&T had a massive pullback here happen. And then we ended up seeing a slight bounce, which seemed like a great opportunity if you were just trying to jump in on this run. And if you did jump in on that one day, you would have probably looked out and got significant profit. But as of right now, we're starting to see consolidation and weakness and a push to the downside. The RSI is somewhat indicating that we're heading to the downside, and so is the MACD, starting to see a change of color. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing pull back a little bit more, if not down to where it bounced at this support level right here. So that's what I would be watching, is possibly anything closer to that 28.83 mark. Definitely one that I'm very interested in. It's just I didn't think that it was the greatest opportunity. Obviously, there was a strong push that one day, but for the last 2 days, Friday and then today, we saw a lot of weakness. Friday was mostly consolidation, and then today we saw a little bit of a pullback. So we'll see if it starts pushing up on Tuesday. definitely a time to jump in for sure, because I think this is going to definitely recover. It just might take a little bit longer than a week. So I wouldn't jump into it just yet. See what happens on Tuesday. If it continues to show weakness, I'd probably be watching this 28.77 level. If it doesn't show weakness and we see a break above this level right here, about 30, that's when I'd start being paying it. That's where I would probably start paying attention to this a little bit more. The next one's going to be DKNG. This one was a very, very hot one. We talked about this one also last week. Strong push to the upside. We ended up breaking support. I think this one's very similar to where we're at with Twitter as well. It really depends. We are, just as Twitter is, we're a little overbought here on the RSI. MACD is looking good. And we are looking good as far as, price action itself goes. We're seeing strong volume coming in, a lot of volume coming in today. And then a break through this support line right here that used to be a resistance, but now it's forming to be a support. So we'll see if this was a little bit of a fake out today, or if we find support on it tomorrow and we see a push for the rest of the week. First level I'd probably be watching is 54.25. That next one's going to be 55-ish, 55.97, 56, fairly close to each other. But so I'd probably be watching this general area, especially the fact that we had support here previously before it sold off before earnings. So if we see that same support, that's the level I'd be watching, because if anything, it's going to get rejected at that point, unless we see strong volume coming in. However, regardless from, this week, if we're talking about just this week, if you're looking the long-term picture at this stock, this is a fairly strong stock. It's going to do fairly well. I would expect this at least with a 25% profit potential. And that's just to, the general recent area level that we were at before earnings happened. If anything, all-time highs, we're looking at about 34%. That's what we're going to be looking at as far as that goes. So the next one that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Airbnb, ABNB. So Airbnb has been selling off. We have been consolidating. We talked about this one last week, and we've just been consolidating in this general area. So basically in this support level that we've been seeing since all the way of last year, end of last year, that's generally where we're at. We ended up dropping to this point right here, and we've been kind of consolidating at this point. So I'm still very interested in this one. I just haven't seen anything significant happen for a push to the upside. That's why I'm still staying patient. There's no point of jumping into a stock if it's not on the move to the upside, right? Obviously, you can start averaging in at some point if you're really interested in Airbnb. However, as of right now, all I saw was a nice pullback happen, which is great. We love to see that. And then now we're seeing consolidation. So probably be waiting for it to drop back down to about these levels right here. If I'm looking for it to jump in. We are looking fairly good as far as the RSI and the MACD goes, though. So as far as RSI goes, I could expect this to push up higher. If I start seeing more volume coming in, relative to, previous volume, we're still seeing significant volume. However, we haven't really gotten a clear, defined direction on this particular stock. So what I'd be watching is a break to this upside here. Once we see some more, positive higher highs, that's probably when I'd be jumping into it. I wouldn't mind jumping in even at 140 if that's when it gets into there. Really probably watching for it to break this point right here. That's where I think it would start making, significant direction where it really confirms to you that, hey, it's starting to head up to the upside. Because even if we get in at about 140, 142, two recent highs to where it was trading, we're looking at about 22%. All-time highs, we're looking at about 34%. So there's still a ton of profit potential, and you jumping in too early, not only can that, lead you to lose, that 4% that it has to get back down to where it was, but it can also, continue to sell off. It very much could. So why would you jump in right now without waiting for that confirmation, right? So that's what we're waiting here for Airbnb. Just want to add to your watch list for sure. Very good deal in my opinion as far as long-term goes, because we were trading up at 219 just back in mid-February, right? And it's only May, and now we're all the way down here. So, very great potential here. Just be patient with it and wait for that volume to come in, wait for that momentum to start pushing to the upside. We are looking like we are starting to slowly make higher highs. However, just like I said, stay patient and make sure that it starts actually breaking at least through 139. I would say 140 would probably be that level to watch. We're at 136 right now. definitely intraday, you can definitely probably get some great opportunities. But if we're looking at the big picture long term, I would probably say, 139, 140-ish is where you'd be wanting to look. Plenty of room to run on the RSI. So, could very much go up to, that 163 mark. So wouldn't be surprised if that happens. And as far as the MACD goes, also plenty of room. Haven't really seen change of color, just a slow, steady green going here. So that next one that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be PENN, Penn National Gaming. Had a nice pullback. Earnings didn't really impact it too much. We can just continue to sell off. And I think the whole market selling off was mostly impacting this sell-off happening. And it's been just selling off. We ended up finding consolidation here between this 74, 78 level and approximately 82 level. We've just kind of been bouncing around here for some time here. So we've just been bouncing in the circle, consolidating. So what I'd be watching is this break above about 83. We're at 80.40 right now. Plenty of room to run intraday. Once again, you can probably make that move from 80 to 83. But if you're looking longer term, I'd be expecting this to break this 83 mark. And at that point, even if we jump in at 83 to, let's even say recent highs, that's about 23% profit potential, 23 profit potential. That's almost 24. That's fairly significant. And if we're going to be looking at all-time highs, we're looking at about 40% profit potential. That is huge. So definitely one to consider and add to your watch list for sure. This one has done very, very well this entire year up until basically mid-March, and then it all of a sudden started selling off. So now that we found support, we've consolidated for, I think it's been like 2 weeks that we've been consolidating at this point ever since earnings. What was that? On the 6th. Yeah, so it's been about a week and a half, 2 weeks since we've just been consolidating at this point. So I would say that this is a fairly significant level. Also, we did have resistance at this point previously before it broke out to all the way to 142s. So this used to be a resistance, and as we learn, obviously the resistance that it used to be now becomes a support, which now we're seeing support at this point. So I would say definitely consider this option as one to add to your watch list and watch closely. Huge profit potentials there. The next one that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be PLTR. PLTR. This one is, I'm really watching this one. This has like a 50% profit potential. If we're going all the way up to 45, about 51 profit potential. However, I will say that this one is a little bit more speculative. This is Pltr Tech. That's how you say it. But this one has been, trading at this support for a very, very long time. And then we ended up seeing a sell-off here because of the earnings. Not surprising to see that sell off. And then we ended up seeing a recovery back to this SMA line. What I'm really watching on this one is going to be a break above this SMA line, which is about that $22 mark. We're at about 21.32. So if we break above 22.50-ish, I'm going to be very interested because then we broke above the SMA. And usually when we break above the SMA line, we start heading to the upside because this works as a support or a resistance. So we kept on getting rejected, got rejected here once, rejected here twice, rejected again, and now we're starting to push up and consolidate here. So what we're really seeing here is this pattern playing out. If I can get this tool to work. Is we're seeing this pattern playing out right here. So we are approaching a very critical point. So if we break above this, like I said, I'm going to be very, very interested, and we'll see that happening in the near, this next week. So it's going to be either Monday or Tuesday that we'll see a break above it or below it. If we break below it, probably expect to sell this off more. Probably a good idea to consider waiting. However, if we break above the SMA line, definitely one to add and consider to your watch list. We are approaching this significant volume level. So if we do break above this level, like I said, huge potential on this one. Just be very, very patient. I would say we're at a very low level as far as price action goes. We haven't seen these levels since basically November, end of November. So if you wanted to ever get into this one, this is probably the best time. You don't want to be jumping in on something at $45 or even when it was up at $35. Yes, there's money to be made at that point even, but you're getting a very, very good deal on this particular stock. The next one that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Square, SQ. So SQ, we ended up pulling back here because of earnings, market selling off. We've just been consolidating for that last week. We talked about this one last week, and now today on Monday, we saw this nice break up to the upside. We saw that break above the EMA line, and now we're pushing up to the upside. Strong green volume here, bullish volume. So I'm liking this one. The next level I'd probably be watching is going to be this SMA line, which lines up with the volume profile level, the most volume at that level as well. And that's about a 9% profit potential up to that point. If we're looking to previous resistance before earnings, we're looking at about 16%. And then if we're looking at basically all-time highs, we're looking at about 22%. So this stock, you know, very strong company, very good company. I would say this is going to do very good long-term. So at this price point, I think it's a very good deal. We had support here back in February, and then we had support here back in March. Came close to this level as well, general area, found support again, came down here again just recently in May, found support once, found support twice, and now we're starting to head up to the upside. So this is a strong support. We held that support even back in November. So very strong support in this push to the upside. That's looking like a good sign to me, one that I'd definitely be interested in. I'm going to be adding or potentially taking a look at this one on Tuesday. We'll see what happens as far as the market goes. If it's going to continue to push up to the upside, definitely one to, you know, consider and add to your watch list. And if you see value in it, definitely one to consider. We still have plenty of room to run on the RSI. MACD is looking good. We're not very overbought. We're about 61 on the RSI, so we're looking good with that as well. So definitely a great opportunity, a great option to consider. The next one is going to be SKLZ. Skills. This one too, strong pullback. This one also has huge profit potential. However, it's a little bit more on the speculative side. I wouldn't say it's super speculative, but it's more so on that side than anything. Not as stable as Square, I would say, but definitely one to consider. So we saw a strong pullback. Everybody was excited when we were coming up to the upside, and then now that we're down at a very cheap price, we're at about 1640. Now people are starting to worry about it, which is, you know, I guess it makes sense. But if you were willing to pay, you know, for the same stock, $29.50 or $30, why would you not want to scoop this up at 1640, right? We're seeing a great play out here, a great pattern. We're seeing a nice pullback pushing down to the downside. And now we're seeing, you know, more consolidation happening in this channel. This channel right here is where we're consolidating. And this was the sell-off channel that we saw. So now that we're at the bottom of this consolidation, we ended up bouncing. The reason this one's very exciting, and I'm excited about taking a look at this one, obviously you'd probably want to get it at, you know, $12.99 or $13, but you know, you're never sure that it's going to be heading to the upside, right? So you're always going to miss out. You should always be missing out on a little bit of a gap at the beginning because you don't want to get in too early. So now that we missed out on this little bit of, you know, this $2 move, what I'm excited about is the fact that we're here approaching this SMA line. Once we break above this SMA line, that would be an indication of a potential reversal of trend to the upside. So that's why I'm interested in taking a look at this one. Obviously, we would still have to break above this level up here at $20 to break out of this consolidation channel. However, you know, if we break above this SMA line, that's already going to be a good sign. We got rejected by this SMA line here previously. We got rejected down here as well. Got rejected down here as well. So this is a very critical point as well, similar to that last stock that we took a look at. Also a very similar setup in this, you know, triangle that we're up, you know, heading to the upside. If we break above this SMA line, that's going to be the first indication of a potential trend reversal. So taking a look at this one, we're at 63 here on this RSI, not too overbought. So definitely, you know, one to consider, add to your watch list. Looking like we're starting to reverse here on the MACD, but we'll see what happens on Tuesday. We'll see what's going to be happening with the market overall. If the market stays bullish, then we'll probably see potential upside on SKLZ. So the next one is going to be, just got two more. The next one's going to be TDD, and that is trading desk, the trade desk. This one here, strong company. We had a nice massive sell-off here down to the support level. Now we're starting to push up to the upside. So what I'm liking about this one is we are approaching this resistance level. We are at a very good deal compared to where the price of this stock has been pretty much for the last 5-6 months. So we haven't seen price levels like this in a very, very long time on this particular stock. That's one of the reasons I like this stock. I like this opportunity. We haven't seen this price action since, or this price level since basically September of last year. So, you know, just think about that. September of last year is the last time you could have gotten it for something around this price point. Now we are starting to head up to the upside. We're approaching this resistance level, which I would say would probably, by the time we end up reaching it, I would say it's going to probably line up here with the SMA line, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. So we'll see what happens. This is also at that junction. That's also going to be a fairly significant volume profile level. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a matter of if we see enough bullish action at that point or bearish action, right? If we break above this SMA line, I'm expecting a strong push to the upside. I wouldn't be surprised to see this price point go back up to about 750. I would say this is a very strong support level. So, you know, if anything, and we get rejected by this level and the SMA line, I would expect us to return back to about 467. But we'll see what happens. If the market stays bullish, once again, you know, obviously we're going to start seeing, you know, something like the trade desk head up to the upside. We had all-time highs here at 974. So from current price points, not even to all-time highs, just where it was basically previous to market selling off and the earnings report, we're looking at about 26%. If we're looking to all-time highs, we're looking at about 43%, and that is huge. So just another one to consider. And the last one that we're going to be taking a look at is going to be PTON, and that's Peloton. A lot of people were excited about this one. This one ended up selling off. And then we basically ended up at where we at. We're about 101 right now. And we haven't really seen this price action since basically November. And then prior to that, September. This one did very, very well. And then we ended up selling off. We had support here at once. We saw support here in November. We saw support here in March. And then we saw support here end of March. And then we finally broke that level and made this point right here. So now that we're seeing this support break, which we saw it break right here to the upside, we're watching this SMA level to see if it breaks up to the upside. If we break this SMA level, once again, similar to the other setups, I would expect this to start heading to the upside and a potential trend reversal to start happening. That would probably be the first indication of a potential trend reversal. So if that's something that you guys found value in, these opportunities, the discussion that we had, make sure that you're subscribed. And if you're not, make sure to smash that like button. If you have any other stocks that you would want us to talk about or you see value in that we didn't talk about, make sure to drop them in the comments below. And I'll see you guys on next week's Stock Talk.